It's midnight. The city is asleep, but a young man lies awake staring at the ceiling. His chest feels heavy, as if something is missing. He has the job, the house, even the family he once dreamed of. Yet a quiet voice inside whispers, "Not enough. Not enough." Maybe you felt that too. That nagging sense that no matter what you achieve, something is still incomplete. We spend years chasing more money, more answers, more approval, hoping that one day, finally, we'll feel whole. But here's the twist. The Buddha revealed that enlightenment is not about gaining something new at all. It's about letting go of what was never real to begin with. Think of it this way. Imagine clenching your fist so tightly for so long that you forgot it was even clenched. And then, one day, you release it. The relief, the freedom, the space that is closer to what awakening feels like. Not a lightning bolt from the sky, but the quiet falling away of illusions that weighed you down your entire life. And this truth is far more radical and far more liberating than the grand spiritual fireworks we often imagine. The Buddha's teaching flips the story we've been telling ourselves. Enlightenment isn't a reward, a prize, or a supernatural escape. It's the realization that nothing was missing from the start. That restless search, that constant hunger, those were the illusions. And when they dissolve, what's left is so simple, so ordinary, and yet so profound, it can move a person to tears. Here's the paradox. When nothing happens, everything changes. Life continues, joy comes and goes, pain comes and goes, but without the heavy story of me, mine, why me? All that remains is presence, intimacy with the moment, without the burden of control. I want to invite you to sit with this for a moment, not as a theory, not as philosophy, but as an opening. Because in this video, we're not going to talk about enlightenment as some distant myth. We're going to touch the heart of it, right here, right now, together. And at the end, there's a special insight waiting, one that might shift the way you see not just enlightenment, but your own life. Before we dive deeper, I want to pause for a gentle ask. If this message resonates, if it touches something quiet but real inside you, consider liking this video, subscribing, or even sharing it with someone who might need to hear it. That small action is more than support. It's a way of carrying this flame of wisdom further, beyond yourself. And that's the deepest gratitude this channel, Buddha Wisdom, could ever hope for. So, what truly happens when enlightenment arrives? Let's step into the Buddha's answer together. 1. Let go of the search. There's a moment most of us know too well. We sit down at night, maybe with a book, a podcast, or even scrolling through endless videos, thinking maybe this one will give me the answer I've been missing. And for a while, it feels good. A new idea, a fresh perspective, a little spark of hope. But then, the next morning, the same restlessness returns. The same question lingers in the back of the mind. What am I still searching for? Why do I never feel done? This is the hidden tension of the human heart. We believe peace will arrive only after we've figured everything out, when we know enough, achieve enough, or finally reach some perfect state. But here's the paradox the Buddha revealed. The endless search itself is the very thing keeping us from peace. Think of your mind like a hand clenched tightly into a fist. Every new idea, every new answer, is like trying to hold one more object in that fist. It gets heavier, tighter, more painful. But awakening is not adding more, it's releasing. It's when the fist opens and suddenly there's space, air, freedom. The Buddha described enlightenment as the unraveling of a knot. Not a sudden explosion of light, not divine fireworks, but the quiet loosening of something that's been pulling you tight your whole life. Imagine a knot in a rope that you've tugged and twisted for years. Then, one day, almost without effort, it just slips free. That release, that space, that's the taste of letting go of seeking. And I think this is why so many people feel burned out by spirituality itself. We chase courses, teachers, techniques, hoping one more will be it. But the Buddha's wisdom is both humbling and liberating. Enlightenment is not found in adding but in subtracting. Not in running further, but in stopping where you are. I remember a friend once told me about the day she realized this. She had spent years reading, meditating, even traveling to different retreats. And still, she felt stuck, incomplete. One morning, sitting in her garden, she heard birds singing. And for the first time, she didn't analyze the sound, didn't ask what it meant for her path. She just listened. Tears streamed down her face, not because she understood something new, but because for the first time, she wasn't searching. She was simply there. This is the heart of the Buddha's teaching. Peace is not the prize at the end of the search. Peace begins the moment the search itself is released. But how do we do this practically? How do we stop searching when the habit is so strong? The Buddha gave us a simple direction. See each thought as it arises. Don't cling, don't push away. When the mind whispers, "I need more answers," notice that thought as just another cloud drifting in the sky of awareness. The sky doesn't chase its clouds. It doesn't argue with them. It lets them pass, and it remains vast, open, unbothered. Over time, this gentle seeing creates space. And in that space, the hunger for more slowly softens. It's like realizing you've been wearing sunglasses indoors, making everything seem darker than it really island. The moment you take them off, nothing is added. Yet everything changes. And maybe this is the lesson that feels both the most difficult and the most freeing. The more we chase peace, the more it runs. The moment we stop chasing, it's already here. So let me ask you, what would happen if you stopped searching even for just one breath? What would happen if, right now, you allowed this moment, exactly as it is, to be enough? The Buddha's answer is simple, but it changes everything. When the search ends, the knot unties. When the grasping fades, the space of freedom appears. And in that space, you discover that what you've been running after has always been within you, closer than your own breath. That's the miracle of letting go. It's not about finding something new. It's about realizing you were never missing anything at all. 2. Nirvana and enlightenment. Picture this. A man spends his entire life chasing shadows. He runs from one to the next, thinking each shadow will finally give him rest. But every time he grasps it, it slips away. Then, one day, he realizes what he was seeking was never outside. It was always right here. That's what enlightenment feels like. It's like opening a door that has always been in front of you, yet you never noticed. The door doesn't lead to some magical kingdom far away. It opens to the reality that's been here all along, hidden beneath layers of illusion. And what lies beyond that door? That's nirvana. It's not a place. It's not a heaven somewhere above the clouds. It's a state of being, a freedom so deep that suffering loses its grip. The Buddha once described enlightenment as the end of ignorance. Ignorance is like mist covering a mountain. The mountain has always been there, strong and steady. But until the mist lifts, you can't see its true shape. Nirvana is when the mist finally clears. Here's the paradox. We often think enlightenment is a peak moment, like fireworks exploding in the sky. But in truth, it's quieter. It's the gentle falling away of illusions. It's not an escape from life, but an awakening to life as it really island. And nirvana, this state of peace, is not something added to your experience. It's the absence of what has always weighed you down. The absence of craving. The absence of fear. The absence of clinging to things that were never permanent. Think about the last time you came home after a long, exhausting journey. Maybe you'd been traveling for days, carrying heavy bags, navigating through noise and confusion. Then, you walk through your own door. You drop the weight from your shoulders. You breathe. And in that moment, you feel, I'm home. That's the taste of nirvana. But here's where the struggle lies. Most of us resist letting go. We want enlightenment, but on our terms. We want peace, but we also want to hold on to our attachments. It's like trying to sail with the anchor still in the water. The Buddha saw this clearly. He taught that as long as we cling to possessions, to identities, even to our own thoughts, we remain bound to suffering. So the question becomes, how do we move from simply opening the door of enlightenment to actually stepping into nirvana? The answer isn't found in doing more. It's found in doing less, in loosening the grip, in daring to trust the stillness inside. And here's something personal I've noticed. When I stop fighting to control every outcome, even for a moment, there's a shift. It's subtle, but powerful. The noise in my head softens. The endless craving to fix, to chase, to achieve it fades. And in that quiet space, there's peace. Not because I found something new, but because I stopped adding layers of illusion over what was already there. That's why nirvana is often described as extinguishing a flame. It's not the flame of life that goes out, but the flame of craving and delusion. And when that flame dies down, what remains is clarity, compassion, and a deep sense of belonging to the present moment. So let me leave you with this image. Imagine walking through a vast desert, thirsty and weary, chasing mirages on the horizon. Finally, you stop. You realize the mirages were never real. You let the chase go. And right beneath your feet, there is a spring of clear, cool water. That is nirvana. Not somewhere far, not someday later, but here, now, when illusions fall away. And remember, there's a deeper lesson waiting at the end of this journey. So stay with me, because what comes next may just shift the way you see your own life. 3. No longer a self-owning experience. Imagine this. A storm sweeps across the sky. Clouds roll in, thunder cracks, rain falls hard. And then, just as suddenly as it came, the storm moves on. The sky doesn't hold on to the rain. It doesn't say, "This thunder is mine." It simply allows. That's what life feels like when there is no self clinging to every experience. Emotions, thoughts, even physical pain still arise. But they are no longer stamped with the label, "This is me, this is mine." Anger comes like a gust of wind. It passes. Joy arrives, dancing for a while, then dissolves like mist in the morning Sunday. Even suffering can be present, but without the weight of the question, why me? And here's the paradox. Life becomes more intimate when it's no longer possessed. Without trying to own it, you are actually closer to it. You taste the raw, unfiltered essence of existence. A tear falls, and it's simply a tear. Laughter rings, and it's simply laughter. No story is needed to hold it in place. The Buddha pointed to this truth when he taught about anatta, the absence of a permanent self. He saw that clinging to a solid I is the root of suffering. Because when we believe in a fixed self, every loss feels like a personal wound. Every change feels like a threat. But when we see that life is a flow, not a possession, the suffering loosens. Think about it. How often do we say, my anger, my fear, my pain? Those two little letters, my, make the burden heavier. It's like carrying a backpack filled with stones and then carving your name on each one. You believe they belong to you, so you can't put them down. But what if anger is just anger? What if pain is just pain? Then the stones don't have your name on them anymore. You can set them aside. I remember once sitting with a close friend who was going through deep grief. He told me, "It feels like this sadness will destroy me." But as he sat in silence, breathing through it, something shifted. He whispered, "The sadness is here, but it's not me. It's just passing through." In that moment, he found space. The grief was still there, but it no longer consumed him. He was no longer owned by it. That's the freedom the Buddha spoke of. Not freedom from emotions, but freedom within them. To feel fully, without being trapped. To live fully without the cage of ownership. And this isn't about detachment in the cold sense. It's not about shutting off or becoming numb. In fact, it's the opposite. It's being so open, so unguarded, that every moment touches you deeply, but without the need to chain it down, to make it last, or to call it mine. Here's a simple practice you can try. The next time a strong feeling arises, joy, anger, or even physical pain, pause for just a second. Instead of saying, "This is my anger," or "This is my pain," try saying, "Anger is here. Pain is here. Joy is here." Notice the shift. The emotion is still real, but the burden of ownership begins to fall away. And when this becomes a way of being, life feels lighter. You don't have to defend every thought as your identity. You don't have to wrestle every feeling into submission. You allow the storm to pass, knowing the sky is vast and untouched. This is the intimacy of life without control, without possession. A child's laughter can move you to tears. A stranger's suffering can awaken compassion in your heart, because you're no longer hiding behind the walls of me and mine. You are simply present, raw and real, with whatever arises. And that presence, that simple, unpossessed awareness, is freedom. Freedom the Buddha called liberation. So stay with me, because in the next part, we'll explore how this freedom transforms not only our inner world, but the way we move through the outer world. And there's a powerful shift waiting there, one that may just change how you meet your own life. 4. The meeting point with other traditions. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine this. Across the world, in temples, churches, mosques, and sacred groves, people sit in silence. Some whisper prayers. Some chant mantras. Some simply breathe. Different languages, different rituals, different songs. But if you listen closely, beneath all the diversity, there is a single heartbeat, an urge to dissolve the small self and return to something vast. In Hinduism, the sages spoke of Atman merging with Brahman, the individual self returning to the cosmic whole. In Sufi poetry, Rumi sang about losing himself in the beloved, melting into divine love like a drop returning to the ocean. In Christian mysticism, saints describe surrendering the ego to unite with God's infinite presence. And in Taoism, the wise spoke of flowing effortlessly with the Tao, the source that holds all things. So, what's happening here? Different words, different paths, but the same longing, the fading of the I into the great whole. Here's where Buddhism offers a unique twist. The Buddha saw that even this absolute, this great wholeness we long to merge with, is not a thing to grasp. It is empty, but empty not in a cold, meaningless way. Empty in the sense of being open, boundless, the fertile ground from which all life springs. Think of the sky. The sky doesn't hold itself as an object. It's not something you can capture in your hands. Yet within that vast emptiness, clouds form, winds move, birds fly, and stars shine. The sky is empty, but it holds everything. That's what the Buddha pointed to when he spoke of shunyata, emptiness, as the ground of all existence. And here's the beauty. When you realize this emptiness, you don't feel isolated. You feel connected, because nothing stands alone. Everything arises together. The tree needs the soil, the rain, the sunlight. You need the breath, the food, the love of others. In emptiness, separation dissolves. Connection becomes natural, and from that connection flows compassion effortlessly. This is where Buddhism meets other traditions but also transcends them. Where others may say, return to the absolute, Buddhism whispers, see that even the absolute is empty, and because of this, love can flow without limits. I'll share something personal here. Years ago, I sat with a group of people from many different faiths: Christian monks, Muslim mystics, Buddhist monks, and even scientists. We all shared our practices. At first, it seemed so different. But then, during a moment of silence, something happened. It wasn't about belief. It wasn't about rituals. It was the simple experience of being together, breathing the same air, hearts beating in the same rhythm. And in that moment, it felt clear. We were not separate. We were drops of the same vast ocean. The Buddha's teaching of emptiness helps us see why this is possible. Because there's no solid wall between me and you. There's no unbreakable barrier between religions, cultures, or even species. We are woven into each other's being. And when you see this deeply, compassion stops being an effort. It becomes as natural as breathing. Imagine if the world lived with this awareness. Religions would stop fighting to prove who was right. Nations would stop clinging to superiority. Instead, there would be space for dialogue, for kindness, for unity. Because in emptiness, there's room for everyone. The Buddha once said, just as the great ocean has one taste, the taste of salt, so too my teaching has one taste, the taste of liberation. Different rivers may flow into the ocean, but when they merge, it's all the same salt water. In the same way, every tradition, at its deepest level, points us back to the same truth. Let go of the self. Return to the boundless. Live with love. And here's the invitation for you. The next time you encounter someone from a different faith, instead of asking, how is your truth different from mine? Try asking, where do our truths meet? Because in that meeting point, something powerful awakens. A tenderness, a compassion, a recognition that we've been walking the same path all along. Stay with me, because what comes next is the heart of it all. A lesson so simple, yet so radical, it can shift the way you experience your own daily life. 5. The challenge of authenticity. Have you ever noticed how easy it is for someone to say they are awakened, enlightened, or spiritually advanced? It sounds powerful, almost untouchable. And yet, words are just words. They can impress, they can attract followers, but they don't necessarily reveal the truth of someone's heart. This is exactly why the Buddha gave us a profound reminder. He said, don't believe in words alone. Don't even believe because of tradition or authority. Look deeply into the actions. Look into the heart. That's where authenticity lives. Think about it. In a world where social media rewards the loudest voice, where spiritual titles and labels are often used as badges, how do we really know who is genuine? It's not through debates, not through clever arguments, and not through grand claims. It's through the silent power of their presence. A truly awakened person doesn't need to prove anything. They don't seek admiration. They don't stand on a pedestal waiting for applause. Instead, they live simply, quietly, in alignment with truth. Their life itself becomes the teaching. It's like a candle. A candle never shouts, "Look at me, I'm giving light." It just shines. And when one candle lights another, it loses nothing of its own flame. That's the beauty of authentic awakening. It shares without effort. It gives without pride. But here's where the challenge comes in our own hearts. Because sometimes we want to be recognized. We want to feel important, validated, admired. And that desire can pull us away from authenticity. It can trap us in appearances instead of truth. I'll share something personal with you. Years ago, when I first started walking deeper on this path, I wanted people to see that I was spiritual. I'd quote sutras, share wise-sounding words, even correct others. But deep down, I wasn't peaceful. I was performing. And one day, I realized that's not what the Buddha meant. True wisdom is not a performance. It's a quiet revolution within. The Buddha's teaching here is not meant to shame us. It's meant to free us, to remind us that the most powerful sign of awakening is not what comes out of our mouth, but how we move through the world. Do we bring peace or conflict? Do we listen more than we speak? Do we light the path for others without demanding they praise us for it? When we meet someone who embodies this, we can feel it. It's in the softness of their presence, in the way they make you feel calm without saying a word, in the way they give without keeping score. And maybe that's the measure for ourselves too. Not, how spiritual do I look, but am I living in a way that brings light? Am I letting my heart be the teaching, not just my words? Authenticity isn't flashy. It's not about winning arguments or gaining followers. It's about living so deeply in truth that others naturally feel safe, inspired, and free when they are around you. That's the kind of awakening the Buddha pointed to. That's the kind of awakening that changes the world quietly, like a candle lighting countless others. So maybe the real question for each of us is this: am I living as a light? Or am I still chasing the approval of others? Because the moment we let go of the need to appear enlightened, we create the space to actually live it. And that's when authenticity shines, not as a show, but as the natural fragrance of a heart that has found peace. 6. Enlightenment as a simple homecoming. When we hear the word enlightenment, many of us imagine something extraordinary, a dramatic transformation, a person glowing with supernatural power, or someone who has left behind the ordinary world to live in caves or mountains. But the truth, as the Buddha gently revealed, is far simpler. Enlightenment isn't about becoming someone new. It's about finally realizing what has always been here. Let me share an image with you. Imagine spending your whole life searching for treasure. You travel across deserts, climb mountains, dig through the earth. But after years of exhausting searching, you suddenly discover the jewel has been in your own pocket all along. That moment of laughter, of relief, of deep release, that is what awakening feels like. The miracle isn't in the jewel itself. It was always there. The miracle is in the discovery. In the moment we stop searching outside and realize, I already have it. This is why the Buddha said enlightenment is less about gaining and more about returning. Returning to what? To a home we never truly left. To the natural clarity of our mind before it was clouded by fear, desire, and endless striving. It's like the sun that was always shining, even when hidden by clouds. Now, here's the struggle most of us face. We're taught from childhood that happiness lies out there, in success, in possessions, in approval, from others. So we chase. We chase recognition, wealth, relationships, achievements. And in that chase, we overlook the stillness already within us. We forget that the peace we're running after is not out there, it's right here. I remember a time in my own life when I felt this chase so deeply. I thought, if I just accomplish this one goal, then I'll finally feel complete. But every time I reached the goal, the satisfaction was fleeting. A new desire quickly took its place. And that cycle was exhausting. It wasn't until I slowed down, sat quietly, and listened inward that I realized the home I was longing for had always been within me. The Buddha compared it to waking up from a dream. When you're dreaming, everything feels urgent, real, heavy. But the moment you wake up, you see it was only an illusion. The stress, the craving, the endless running, it dissolves. And in its place is a freedom so simple it almost feels ordinary. But don't mistake ordinary for unimportant. In fact, that simplicity is the greatest gift. Because what we're truly looking for is not fireworks or magic. It's rest. It's ease. It's the relief of not needing to be more, not needing to prove anything, not needing to arrive anywhere. Enlightenment, then, is not the crown at the end of the race. It's the moment we realize we never had to race at all. It's coming home to ourselves. And in that homecoming, there is a profound joy. Not the temporary thrill of desire, but the quiet joy of belonging. Like sitting by a warm fire after being lost in the cold. So what does this mean for you, right now? It means you don't have to wait for some future version of yourself to be worthy. You don't have to chase a perfect moment to finally rest. You can pause this very moment and recognize the jewel in your pocket. The peace that has always been here. The Buddha never asked us to become someone extraordinary. He simply invited us to remember, to see clearly, to return. And maybe that's the most beautiful truth of all. That enlightenment is not about escaping life, but about arriving fully in it. Not about becoming someone else, but about finally being at home in who you are. So perhaps the question to carry with you is this: what if the thing you've been searching for has been within you all along? And what would change if, today, you stopped searching and simply came home? Summary of key points and reflections. As we come to the end of this journey, let's take a moment to breathe in what we've explored together. Enlightenment, as the Buddha taught, is not about adding something new to ourselves. It's about letting go of the endless clinging, the desperate need to defend this fragile I. When that weight falls away, what remains is lightness. Nirvana isn't some distant reward, it's the natural peace that blooms when we stop fighting life. Not an escape from the world, but a deep freedom within it. Yes, emotions still arise. Thoughts still come and go. Even pain visits us from time to time. But without the tight grip of ego, they no longer feel like chains. Anger passes like wind through open fields. Joy dances freely without fear of loss. Pain, too, is felt, but without the cruel question, why me? And when we look beyond Buddhism, we notice something striking. Hinduism, Sufism, Christianity, Taoism, all of them whisper the same truth: the dissolving of the self into something greater. But Buddhism shines a unique light here. It shows us that the ground of all being is emptiness, not a void of despair, but the open space that makes connection possible. From that emptiness flows compassion, because we see ourselves in everyone and everyone in us. But here's the test, the real challenge. How do we know if someone is truly awake? The Buddha warned us, don't be fooled by grand words or claims of enlightenment. Look at how they live. Do they seek admiration, or do they quietly serve? The awakened are like candles. They don't lose anything by lighting another flame. They don't argue, they don't boast, they simply shine. And finally, perhaps the most beautiful truth, enlightenment isn't becoming someone else. It's coming home to what you've always been, like discovering the jewel that's been in your pocket all along, like realizing the home you longed for was never lost. So here is the lesson to carry with you. Awakening is not a far-off destination. It's the simple recognition, right now, that you are already whole. When you stop clinging, stop searching, and live in the natural simplicity of this moment, peace and freedom are already here. If this message has touched your heart, take a breath with me. Maybe think of someone who could use this reminder today. If someone came to mind, share this video with them. And if what we explored today gave you comfort or insight, let us know in the comments which part resonated most with you. Thank you, truly, for staying with me until the very end. Your presence means more than you know. May you carry peace into your day. And if you'd like to keep walking this path together, consider subscribing to Buddha Wisdom and sharing this space with others who may need it. Until next time, may you be well, may you be free, and may you remember, you are already home.